Hi, I'm Carl Raghavan, Europe's original starting strength coach. So today I'm going to show you some progressions on the press. So granted, there's a caveat here. As we know, starting strength, we use a press that we call the 2.0 press, which we're going to run through as well today, where you're standing out of the rack, you throw your hips, and it's overhead standing, right? That's the gold standard that we like because it uses the most muscle mass, most weight, most effective range of motion, all that good stuff, right? But when you come out of starting strength linear progress, SSLP, and you're no longer a novice, or perhaps you're an aging lifter and maybe you've got more arthritic shoulders or you just can't hack that version of a press, these progressions and these presses might be the best press suited for you, because unlike me and Chase, not everyone can double layback 300 pounds, right? Or 405. So, for some people, this is their go-to press. This variation I'm going to show you today, which is seated pin scrapes, I like doing this on a day where someone's maybe running 2 or 3 days of press. So this would be a second or third kind of medium to light day press variation. So here we go. So I don't like it when the back is supported, and you'll see why is because with this press, just like any other press, we like getting our torso under the bar. So I use the same grip that we use in pressing for starting strength. So the grip, as you already know, I want to get my hips really close under the bar, and then I'm going to scrape up the rack, drive my chest under. Big shrug at the top. So as you can see, there you are. So as you can see, the torso moves just like you would with any other press. You're getting under the bar, whereas if you had like a more old school bench where the incline comes all the way up into an L, staying back here and doing this press, you're going to be more like this up the rack, which we don't want. We want to still be in line. Wrist, elbow, shoulder, torso, hips. We're going to be in that straight line like any other press. So I really like this version of a press. We're going to run the standing version as well, just to show you the progression there. And again, some people, that could be a great press progression to get strong at as well, if you want to learn the more balance effect of training, which is super important with barbell training. We want to implement the balance aspect of the barbell press too. So let's do that. Yeah, so from a seated pin scrape, progression, a step up from here. If you can do a standing, of course, we're big advocates of using more muscle mass, AKA I'm no longer sitting, I'm standing using my legs. So now we're going to do a pin scrape standing. This height is close to what I would do for unracking the bar. If this is too low, then you can start a little bit higher up the rack. But again, for this demonstration, because we're going to do a progression out of picking the weights up, but you can start with a higher pin setting and work your way down to here. I can definitely already feel how much harder that is versus a seated pin scrape. And again, if you're running different variations because you've got multiple days of pressing, sometimes adding in a different variation, you don't just want to run bog standard press. Sometimes this can teach you stuff that you're missing out on. Sometimes you're missing out on your shrug. Sometimes it's loading your hand. I see that a lot, where people, when they start to press, instantly when they unrack the bar, the bar is in this position, right? But because we're on this fixed rail system, you could call it, like the pin scrape is almost like we're doing it on a Smith. Now I just can really focus on my palm placement, and I don't have to worry about the bar going forward and back, and my feet are going to be planted a lot better when I'm, as opposed to unracking for the next variation. So some things like that can really pay off with more simplified versions of the main lifts. So yeah, this lift can teach you something, maybe give it a shot. All right, so the next step up, you could say, would be a generic strict press. So this one I feel like is a big staple because the 2.0 is very dynamic. And again, for some people who are big overthinkers and the thought of moving their hips, either their back won't allow it. So maybe you're dealing with some tweaky back and you just don't want to throw your hips. Or the thing for me, strict press, is a bar path issue. Because when you're doing really dynamic throw of the hips, sometimes the bar can be shot forward. You know, a variation like a strict press can be a great medium press variation. And you can maybe just run this even in your warm-ups. It doesn't have to be your go-to press, but I still think it's a great press variation if you need it. So here it is. Again, what you're going to notice about all these variations today is I've standardized the start position and the lockout. So everything from pin scrapes to my heavy press, my start position is here, lockout is there, same standardized throughout. And with every lift variation, you kind of want to have that system of movement because otherwise you don't know what you're training and getting stronger. So we'll move on. So this variation, I would say, is from the 2nd edition book. So those of you who first started reading that book, I guess this variation is called the 1.0. It's kind of nostalgic now, I guess. This will be a hard one for me, actually. Haven't done this in a while. But again, for some people, this might be your go-to press variation. Not everyone's going to be able to do double layback. Bring me back to memory lane. So yeah, that variation was originally from the 2nd edition book. So it's kind of a combination, I would say, of starting out in a strict press, and then you take a quick gasp of air in the shrug, which I don't like, and then you're bringing it down, boom, catching a little stretch reflex, almost like a squat tempo. It's kind of bounce, and then each subsequent rep, you're catching your breath up here, boom, like so. So that's the 1.0, to my knowledge, that's what we've called it. So there you go, trip down memory lane. All right, so a familiar sight here. This is the variation that we know and love from the 3rd edition book. So we just call this the press, but sometimes it can be labeled the 2.0. So that's where we throw the hips, hit the shrug and bring it down, and then we reset from the bottom. So looks a little something like this. Whew. So usually I could probably 2.0 a little bit more than this, but I've just recently pressed 330, so feeling a bit tender. So next stop, we'll see some double layback. All right, so I guess this is one of my specialties, is the double layback, sometimes coined the 3.0. See what we did there? Strict 1, 2, 3.0. So it's always an interesting one because me and Chase especially, we're known for doing a double layback press. And sometimes people who want me to show them the press, it's like, I can't actually do it with a light weight. So all those progressions you saw me do, that's kind of how the movement looks because of the load on the bar. Again, usually I start double laybacking when it gets to 3 plates, so 315. I'm a bit spent from doing this progression, but also I've just pressed 330 a couple of days ago, so I'm feeling a bit toasty in the back and shoulders from that whole meet experience. So yeah, for today's purposes, 275 is gonna be the starting point where the weight is gonna get sticky, and you'll see I naturally start to reach forward again with my hips. Right now, the double layback isn't a teachable lift. You either can do it or you can't. When it gets heavy, some people have better proprioception and feedback in doing it. I can do a small amount to try and help cue you to throw your hips forward again, but not everyone's gonna do it. Some people's back just won't allow it. And yeah, also it's a flexibility thing. If you have good flexibility in your lumbar spine. And the other thing is glutes. People don't talk about is how tight your glutes have to be when you're doing a double layback. Whereas in the 2.0, it's more about being tight in your quads and your abs. So that's another missing piece. So there's a lot more that goes to like doing a double layback, but it actually has to be substantial weight for it to actually work as well. So here we are. That's enough for today. So there you are. There's some of the progressions. Some might be beneficial when you're an intermediate lifter out of SSLP. Some might be your go-to lifts, and that is the way you're gonna press and get strong. Someday you might progress to another lift, and that's okay as well. The goal is you're adding weight to the bar, you're getting stronger, making progress.